Welcome to
the Plant-Based Podcast.
In case you didn't know already, plants are amazing. You can
Eat them,
wear them,
drink them,
nourish your skin with them,
grow them,
love them,
and be inspired by them. So why not join us on the Plant-Based Podcast as we speak to the movers, shakers, and growers in this amazing plant world.
This episode of the Plant-Based Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Natural Grower. Launched in 2019, their award-winning liquid fertiliser and soil conditioner is made entirely from maize. Visit naturalgrower.co.uk to nurture your soil and boost your plants and veg. Enter PBP15 for a 15% discount as a PBP subscriber.
So in today's episode, Michael and I put out there on social media which topic our listeners would love to hear us chatting about in this week's episode. And the two topics were 101 reasons why we love plants, and the other question was about COVID and how that has impacted our growing experiences and the future. And you guys voted for the COVID discussion. No pressure there, Michael.
I was very surprised. I thought maybe everybody had heard enough of this dreaded C word. But no, it was quite close, though. So perhaps a few episodes' time, we will take on board the 101 reasons to garden. But so this episode is going to be all about how COVID changed the gardening world. And in my opinion, it has created an environment which is a golden time for horticulture, you know. Maybe not garden centres, but kind of horticulture as a whole and kind of awareness of plants and nature.
Over the last few years, I mean, in horticulture, we've been talking so much about trying to encourage new people into the industry, haven't we? And then all of a sudden, the pandemic hit, and maybe it's really helped everyone out, you know, to get more people
so bizarre,
interested in nature and gardening and growing their own.
So many things.
Sometimes things happen for a reason.
So many things have happened that kind of like the world was almost wishing to happen. And then suddenly overnight, it's just there. And you've got, you know, things that are better for the environment. You've got people engaging more with nature. You had families spending more time together as well. Oh, it's just amazing.
It was genuinely really lovely, even quite early on in lockdown, seeing how many people were posting photographs to social media about how they'd been out on family walks and they never get the time to do that, or they'd discovered like fields around their homes, or they'd been through the forest, you know, and, you know, just woodlands, and never having really known that they're there or having the time to do it. And I think maybe that sort of kicked things off, because we need nature, and I think it's intrinsic to our being. So when we can't have all of the other things, like those other distractions that take us away from the natural world, we instinctively go straight back to it. And so it was immediately like, right, we must go for a walk, we must get some air, let's go and look around the woodlands or the beach.
Well, that was the only place you could go, so that kind of helped as well,
but then people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But then people enjoyed it. And so they wanted to do more of it. And that's just really exciting. And actually there was the Icelandic Forestry Commission, and I think it was the Woodland Trust in the UK, put out there on social media that whilst you can't hug people, go and hug a tree, you know, because you still can have connectivity to the world by doing that. I thought that was just totally awesome.
I just wonder kind of like what the balance is like now when people have gone back to work, you know, are they keeping that balance of like getting out there with nature? I guess a lot of, you know, people that would have been commuting a lot are now working from home. So hopefully they're not travelling so much. They're not, having that kind of time out from their families. But I just wonder what it's like now. Because before it was like you had your prescribed hour of exercise and you really made an effort to make that something interesting and stimulating and something nearby. But I just wonder how quickly people slip into old habits and such. Yeah.
You know, humans are rubbish at creating any kind of balance in their lives, and we could so easily have the balance of the digital world and working and being busy and all of this other stuff at the same time as enjoying going out in your garden or amongst nature, but we're just really bad at it.
Why is balance so difficult then? What is the issue with that?
I don't know. It's obviously how we've evolved, I suppose. I think lots of people feel so much pressure to do what they think everyone else is doing.
Yeah,
what they should
very
do.
true.
Perhaps, and maybe that's why, I don't know. But, my answer to everything is go and hug a tree anyway.
Well, we saw certainly a lot of people that had not had any interest in gardening out there gardening. And sadly, that's because they had nothing else to do. But actually, maybe they just about enjoyed it,
That's right. So, what's changed, do you think? Why?
I think it's because the people were spending more time at home. They then perhaps looked inwardly at their home and realised that it could look a lot nicer because they're spending time there. But also, they didn't have much else to do with their time, And of course, the weather has been amazing, Had this been a rainy spring into summer, how different would this experience have been,
Yeah, it would have been so
Can't imagine.
depressing, wouldn't it? Completely.
But you wouldn't have had perhaps then this boom in gardening and horticulture or anyone doing anything outside because people couldn't get outside. They wouldn't be beautifying their gardens if it was raining every day, would they? So
no, complete. Do you know what? The one thing when I was stuck in my apartment, not being able to garden, just seeing everybody's posts about how they were going out, the gardens were looking amazing, the allotments were looking the best that they've ever looked before. More people were taking up allotment plots, all of that kind of thing. That was amazing to see.
Were you jealous?
Oh, every single day. Totally. But amongst all of that, of course, more people were getting involved in gardening. But, of course, everything was closed. So all the garden centres were closed, weren't they? So obviously, I wasn't here in the UK. And there were perhaps more places open in NC. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
But how did everybody manage here? So obviously more gardening, but not so much being able to go out and buy stuff that they need. How did it work?
Obviously mail order was booming and a lot of people are hopping online to buy their vegetable seeds. Websites like Sutton's and Thompson & Morgan had to close, for a few days at a time because there was such demand. Obviously I worked with QVC. We had a lot more shows. We had a lot more kind of packs of plants that were geared towards the beginner as well, and a lot of that stock which was coming out of a lot of the growers that couldn't sell the stock because the garden centres were closed. And then the irony of it all, I've heard that they sell plants outside supermarkets and such, but because around all of this and around the kind of stay-at-home message, there was such a kind of judgy kind of guilt from other people that I heard that when people were outside supermarkets trying to buy plants, people would kind of be a bit judgy that wasn't an essential purchase,
Yeah, I did see that.
Because remember, we had, 6 weeks of the year where there was so much judgment on whether we were making essential purchases or not, So plants weren't seen. I know.
That.
And there was just so much, we don't realise now what freedom we now have to buy what we want. I tell you, this is a slight segue, Ellen Mary, but my
yes,
my friend Lorna, who I don't think you've met, she was, I went round there sort of in the point where everything was kind of easing up a bit, and we had a pizza outside, and I took some drinks, and I brought her a can of Diet Coke. And she said, "Oh, I haven't had one since the beginning of lockdown." And I said, "What? Why?" She said, "Well, I didn't think it was an essential purchase." Like a can of Coke. So, I think a lot of people took that very seriously. Yeah, but it was a strange time.
But the thing is, with that purchasing of other items that aren't considered essential, if they're on sale in the shops and you're gone to the shop to buy your toilet roll, then why are you not allowed to pick up a plant? I could never understand that.
It's more
Diet
judgment
Coke,
around it, I believe.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you've gone in there anyway to get your shopping, so why are you not allowed to pick up a plant? They're there and they're for sale, and actually that's really helpful to do that because we need them to be bought.
But just think about how much judgment is around all of this, our behaviour is only really regulated by what we think other people think, more than what the rules are, isn't it?
True, and you know what? Our behaviour is most definitely driven by the media. And throughout all of this,
what they tell us other people are doing as well.
And what they tell us that other people are thinking and doing, even if it's not the truth.
It's mad.
And I've kind of learned that you see a photograph, you know, don't believe everything you see in that photograph.
Like crowded beaches, clever angles. Who knows?
Don't believe it all. And I think there's a big part of me that's really lost a lot of respect for some of our media, and especially being in the States, because the media in the UK is the worst of the worst.
Do you really feel?
It really is, yeah. It just twists things. It can be so negative. And at the beginning of COVID, for the first few weeks, I was really proud of the UK media. I thought they were reporting brilliantly, balanced. Okay. They were very positive and helpful. And I thought, wow, if we could continue like this through a pandemic, this shows how amazing our media can be. And then all of a sudden, it's the judgy photographs, the negativity, the contradiction. It's almost like the media in the UK like to big up people because they love to see them fall. And
it's awful.
I that's bad, really bad. So, don't believe everything you read, that is for sure. So, what happens next? What's the future, do you think?
Wow. A recent Forbes report showed that people don't actually want to touch things when they buy. So there's likely to be more packaging. But is that going to be sustainable? Because it's so strange, because now we're in this world where suddenly we have more packaging, more pieces of plastic, more stuff. That's exactly what we were moving away from. It's kind of... I don't know. It's like this topsy-turvy world sometimes. It's just insane, isn't it?
It really is. That report was a really good read, actually, because it was like trying to balance out the fact that no-touch retail is potentially going to be like a really big thing over the next 6 months, or at least until there's a vaccine.
But you mean no touch but still in a shop, or no touch and it's mail order?
Well, no touch retail can be anything, so it can be just online, of course, but it can still be going to the shop but not touching any of the items. So obviously we now have like contactless payment for practically everything, and it's gone up, hasn't it, to £45 instead of £30.
Well, on Apple Pay you can spend like 200.
Can you? I don't know. But not everyone has Apple Pay, do they? So, but yeah. So it was kind of like discussing the fact that people, when you go to a supermarket and there's fresh food, but it's not packaged, they're not buying that. They're only buying the packaged stuff because they're worried that people have touched the fresh stuff that's not packaged. But at the end of the day, you just wash your hands and you wash the food before you eat it anyway, don't you? So so the whole like packaging thing, it can become an issue, because in the rush for retailers to get stuff sold, is it that they're going to throw things in bags and plastic bags that aren't biodegradable? Or is this an opportunity to completely change all packaging and make sure that everything is biodegradable and recyclable?
And there's plenty of options now, isn't there, Starch bags, even back to paper bags, potentially.
Or paper bags that they use quite a lot in some of the supermarkets. And why we can do that so much more. And then of course there's more online shopping, isn't there? But that actually, was it that report or another report, I can't remember now, that was saying that without touching things, you don't use that your sense and sense of touch, and then of course that triggers your smell and your sight and your hearing and all of that kind of thing when you touch something. And so like this whole no touch retail will completely change how we shop, because buying something online is not like buying a plant online is not the same as actually seeing it and touching it in real life. So how will that kind of like change our experience of shopping?
Well, I've got a couple of things there actually. I'm doing some work for a trade show in Holland first week of September, and this is obviously all virtual. It's a whole digital experience, and they've got 360 photography of the plants. But it's not the same, but it's a good enough substitute, it's very strange.
At this point, it's great to have it,
But I think it's a nice component to a live event. Like, we've talked about Chelsea before, how virtual Chelsea was, fairly good this year, but like it's not the same. But I think those elements could really add into the live show in subsequent years and then be really, really nice for people all around the world. So
Yeah,
I got to say something about mail order, where you've probably noticed it around the house, because you're staying in my house at the moment. There's a lot of unexplained lamps, Ellen. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I was trying to buy lamps online, but I didn't ever understand the dimensions or how it would really look or the feel of it. And so I kept ordering lamps until there was one I liked. And I still haven't. So scale is a really difficult thing to use mail order, because you know what it's like. You try and buy a mug and you accidentally order an espresso cup because you don't read the small print. You know, so that you can easily get unstuck there. So you can't use mail order for everything. No.
Yeah, that's true. Shall I tell you something, since I am staying in your house? I love your house is lovely, and I love all of your plants. I'm chatting to them every day, making sure they're all okay. But there's one thing that really winds me up.
The blinds?
Perry. No. The fact that all of your plants still have the labels and the prices on them.
Oh, that's all right.
You haven't even taken the label and the price off, and they're standing on your windowsill.
Oh, I don't mind. It's more of a show home. It's not a home, Ellen. It's a filming location.
It's a product placement.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, you know, with regards to kind of shopping and the garden centres being closed for all of that time, how do you think that's going to affect like the high street and garden centres like going forward?
Wow, I don't know, because independents obviously came off this quite well, but ironically they almost were too successful. And a lot of them, you know, this Higgledy Garden seed company, you know this guy?
Yeah.
I think he closed his whole business because he couldn't keep up with demand. Like, it's all, like, that must be as tragic as not having any business. Because a lot of these independents have kind of, you know, been having this little kind of cottage industry, and of course they've got less plants, but they got better quality plants, they got more unusual plants. They're going to give you much better advice than when you walk into a DIY store or a big chain garden centre, but they haven't got the capacity to cope with demand. So it seems crazy to close your business due to big demand, but that must be the most panicking thing ever because this Higgledy Garden used to have lovely handwritten packages, kind of, there was that customer experience and kind of that personal contact, and then suddenly it was blown out of the water and he couldn't do it. So it's just success is not always the dream when you're trying to be an independent doing a lovely customer experience. So does that mean we have more independents, you know, a lot more, but smaller independents, you know?
That's totally true. There was something on Radio 2, I think, last week, where they were discussing the high street as obviously high streets have really suffered, haven't they, over the years, because of, you know, the big department stores and out of town shopping experiences and online and all of that. And they were saying this could actually completely change that whole situation, where people are they more likely now to go and shop at small independent retailers?
Smaller hubs,
that includes
almost.
Nurseries, because they feel safer, because they want to support, you know, them even more. Perhaps during lockdown, when they did order things online, they had exceptional customer service, so they want to go back to those, because actually some of the bigger stores also really, really suffered. They couldn't keep up with demand. Packaging was dreadful. I had a lot of mail order plants delivered to my parents for the allotment for when I got back. And some of the photographs they sent me of the packaging and the condition of the plants were horrendous. Really? It were really
But
bad.
was it not because some of those were caught in the post for a longer time than usual?
Some were, and some of them were just very bad packaging, where it's just a big rush, you know, to obviously try and keep up with the orders.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because what's a company to do? You know, you're having this bounty of a year. You've got orders, you know, coming in thick and fast. Very hard to turn those away, you know. What company's going to do that willingly, you know? It's such a crazy time. Yeah.
It's just, it must be really difficult for business to try and balance.
Absolutely.
And really, really hard. And I have complete respect for all like horticultural retailers out there for getting through this. But I wonder if, because of obviously the boom in online ordering, if that means that even the bigger garden centres were closed, does that mean that if they didn't really sell online, that's going to really affect them going forward? You know, as in, will they have a lesser chance of survival? Because they don't do online.
I think the key is the coffee shops. As much as we find that a bit cringy that a coffee shop helps a garden centre succeed, it's a fact, and people like to have that full experience, you know, going looking at plants, having a coffee and a cake. I often think in horticulture we have a bit too much of a snobbishness about that, and we should embrace that this is how people want their garden centre experience, and it's lovely. So I think, I've been to one maybe 2 weeks ago, where the cafe had reopened. So I think cafes are slowly reopening, but yeah, because from what I'd heard, garden centres were super busy when lockdown lifted, and then it was just dead after that because everybody rushed out and got the plants they needed. But then after that, there was no reason to then go again because you didn't have that coffee shop experience or kind of nice piece of cake, you know? Yeah.
Gardeners like tea and cake, let's face it, you know, at the end of the day. I just have to pose a question about people. Do they want to go shopping online or in person? And are they scared about going for safety purposes, or do gardeners actually care? Because to me, I am more than happy to stick my mask on because that's the rules and go out and get my plants. You know, and if I see something online, I'll buy it online. But if I want to see plants too. I want to go and touch them. You know,
especially with sizes, for example. You know. Like you order a plant and you kind of don't really have a scale of what size it's going to be when you receive it. So, or of course the quality, because, in the garden centre you might see a tray of 10 plants. You're going to choose the one that is at optimum size and performance. But, you know, somebody else is doing that for you when it comes to mail order, which is very different experience.
It definitely is.
But I think there's obviously less risk and less worry because garden centres are more of an outdoor space. But I have to say, I think you feel the same. You know, masking up to go in a shop is not really such a big deal as it's made out to be, you know?
Really not.
It's like, you just, have I got my car keys? Have I got my wallet? Have I got my mask? That's it. And then you're just putting it on before you go in the store. It's not like you're then forced to wear it all day. Be sensible as well. So yesterday we were in a shopping centre here and we were going in and out of individual shops. But when we then sat in the communal area just away from people on our own, then, you know, we were chatting and arranging some parcels, and it was like, well, you can take your mask off then. Like, use your sensibilities. I think kind of in UK at the moment, it just feels like this hysteria about it and it's endlessly discussed, and it's like, just get on with it, you know?
Yeah, it's just common sense. And whether people can argue that we should have been wearing masks weeks ago or not is at this point
it's by
irrelevant.
the by.
The rule is you have to wear your mask. You know. Although for me now, I have to leave the house and my checklist now is: have I got my keys? Have I got my purse? Did I turn my straighteners off? And now I also need to remember: have I got my mask?
Do these straighteners not turn themselves off?
I don't know, it's just a thing. It really is. And then if you leave the house and think, oh no, I think I left those on, it's just really frustrating.
I bought this beard straightener and I remember I left it on for 3 days. But it was so ineffective, it's not like it was ever going to burn the carpet. Oh dear.
Anyway, very good. So, I guess in part 2 we're going to talk about all the things that we can do in lockdown, or if you don't want to go out, or some tips and tricks and things.
Absolutely. We're going to turn COVID on its head and make it into Grovid. Huh?
Yeah.
This episode of the Plant Based Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Natural Grower. Visit naturalgrower.co.uk to nurture your soil and boost your plants and veg.
Okay, so in part 2, we're going to look at how to turn COVID into Grovid and have the best season that you can. And this incorporates gardening indoors as well as outdoors, because we appreciate that not everybody's got as much space as others. But we're going to look at a few tips of how you can survive gardening during lockdown, because, you know, we don't know what the future holds. You know, we could get used to obviously spending more time at home, enjoying our own gardens. But, you know, that's not such a bad thing because it's engaging with nature. and getting the most out of nature, which a lot of us had never really done before. Although we had, Ellen, hadn't we?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Your tree hugger.
Just a little bit, yeah. It's watching people kind of start to grow their own has been really interesting, and I know that I know I've said it so many times before, but there are many people who have really suffered during lockdown because they don't have an outdoor space. And where I only had my balcony, and that little balcony genuinely saved my sanity. Without that little space, I would have struggled even more. And so I was constantly thinking about, people who don't even have that little balcony space, and they're in high-rise, apartments, and what kind of things that they could do to enjoy a little bit of nature, in their home. So we've got a few tips of things that people can do. But actually you can grow your own food, indoors on a kitchen windowsill as well. So there's... Oh,
totally. So...
But
Yeah, so let's talk about some of those kind of benefits of what you can really do, How about, I know we're jumping around a bit here, Ellen, but how about veg then? Like, do you think you can genuinely go veg on a windowsill?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be growing potatoes. But there are definitely so many things that you can grow, You can, I don't often see so many people growing things like peas, but you could literally have a row, a trough along your windowsill and grow peas and beans, as long as it's a nice, sunny aspect and it's getting a little bit of air as well. So I think...
Do you mean actual peas or pea shoots to harvest pea shoots?
Shoots and peas, shoots like microgreens. Cool. Of course, you could have all of your windowsills full of microgreens, but things like actual peas and beans. I think that we were talking in part 1 about how we're led quite a lot by the media, or what we think people think of us or what we do. And we have to start blowing the theory out of the water, and we have to stop worrying about what people are telling us we should and shouldn't do, or how we should and shouldn't be. And if you want to give growing peas or beans a go on your windowsill, then you absolutely must do it. Don't be concerned about someone saying you can't do it or it doesn't work, because also there's new varieties. And I think growers are now looking at new varieties for small space gardening, because that's what we need. So don't be put off, and think that because you don't have a big outdoor space you can't do it. And actually part of the fun is just learning to do it and trying to do it. So even if you don't get to the point where you can harvest, you've got some lovely greenery on your windowsill, you're learning, you're connecting, you're reading, perhaps you're going on social media and meeting people. It's kind of like, it's the whole holistic approach to it isn't actually just the outcome.
Have a go. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah,
definitely. Obviously herbs are super easy for the windowsill. Often people buy them from the supermarket, but I would always pot those on as soon as possible into some better soil, because that soil is always very dry. It's often mixed with glue, isn't it, to keep it together in transit. So a lot of people fail with those herbs, but I would say pot them on as soon as you can. Tomatoes, I've been really kind of intrigued by tomatoes this season, and chilies, because I'm growing some in that veggie bag on the patio, and I was worried about the kind of pollination, but then when I read up on it, a lot of varieties were self-pollinating. So tomatoes, in effect, dwarf ones, could be grown on a windowsill indoors.
Yeah, you can have a hanging basket indoors of tumbling tomatoes.
Yeah. The only problem sometimes with those sort of plants, they often attract flies because they're in a different area, don't they? Do you know what I mean? Like, when an outdoor plant is indoors, it often kind of brings a whole different attitude sometimes.
Attitude, I like that.
I don't know.
I don't quite know
what I mean there. Yeah.
I think you need to have good air circulation, and it needs good light. And of course, if the plant, indoor or outdoor, gets stressed, it's more likely to get pests and diseases. So there's always that. You still have
But it can be hard to get a lot of light in an English home in the summer sometimes. We're very lucky this this season for sure, but it can be hard. And that's when you then end up getting like your fungus gnats and all of that stuff. So that can put people off.
Yeah.
But
don't let it put people off.
Air circulation
is the key. As much light as you
Yeah.
can. There are grow lights that you can buy if you can get them. But a good way of keeping like those little fungus gnats out of your pots is to put some horticultural grit on top of the soil, because they can't then lay their eggs, and then it does.
That's a good idea.
Really, really help. So there's.
Or the shell on earth. I really like the shell on earth. Have you tried some?
I haven't tried some. Is this?
Yeah. There's some in my pots just behind you if you want to.
Is it? This
if you want to feel it.
This is the shells from whelks or something, is it?
Yeah. But it's quite good, and it gives you that kind of coverage on top of the pot, on the windowsill ones.
Oh, I can't really move because I'm plugged in.
Oh, you can't reach. Oh, sorry, Ellen.
Sorry.
Just imagine it. It's lovely. It's like a beach.
Nice. So there's that, and that's another
that's
thing.
pretty
There's
cool.
new things that are coming onto the market that people can use. So, yeah.
But you say microgreens. There's a lot of different microgreens.
You can grow
And I think
I mean,
you could do kind of like these cress heads, but like with ginger hair, perhaps.
You could and redheads like beetroot and radish, that kind of thing. You could just have windowsills full of greenery, and all you really need, you can either buy like the trays, the kind of grow trays, but you could just recycle stuff from the kitchen. Like food containers, and like the horrible plastic food containers you get, just keep reusing them. You don't even need good soil to grow microgreens, because they don't need any nutrition. All they need is just to be able to grow to 10 centimetres high, and then you chop them off and eat them. It's like easy and really good fun. So, yeah.
Edible flowers as well is a nice one. I grew some, some mini pansies on the windowsill.
Yeah.
Obviously, they like to be a little bit shady, so kind of like north-facing windowsill is potentially better for pansies. Something that worked really well, I was very surprised, was a little miniature fuchsia.
That's cute.
Which was really nice. It really quite enjoyed being on the windowsill. Whereas a couple of things, what was it? Osteospermum, I thought that would be easy, but that was quite hard on a windowsill, that one. Because I was experimenting with a lot of outdoor plants indoors this season. Yeah. And there was some really nice surprises, to be honest.
So
I had some marigolds on there for a while.
Oh, my faves. But this is what I think gardening's all about. It's just learning and experimenting and trying new things and just enjoying the process, just having a go.
Definitely.
Don't worry that no one else is doing it. It's great that you're giving it a go if no one else is doing it. You might find something
Because
new.
I think, when I did this windowsill, a lot of people were very surprised. And do you remember what happened? The Alan Titchmarsh show thought it was far too racy and only included me growing chilies.
We haven't heard that before, have we, Michael?
Obviously bothered about that much.
You're not
Good
at
night.
all bitter. But please just remind us of the one line that we did hear on there.
Chilies! No, hang on. Let me get it right. Peppers! I'm growing chili peppers! I need to make that a ringtone or a meme. Oh, dear.
Oh, he does not know what he missed out on.
But I was obviously in this apartment during lockdown in Windsor, which was... Because it was an area that was unfamiliar to me and a nice green area, I quite enjoyed there, even though I was in an apartment. It didn't bother me as much. And it was just on the first floor, so that's different to being in a tower block. Yeah. But it was very sunny as well, and that obviously makes a difference. And I ended up buying about 50 houseplants while I was there. It's just crazy. So I was on the houseplant obsession track for sure.
I think lots of people have definitely joined in with the houseplant trend during lockdown.
As if it couldn't get any more popular.
Oh, I love it. I just love
My
it.
8-year-old self is just sitting agog in my play shed at the moment. Just like, what? You guys, I'm sat here growing houseplants, How could you imagine a world in 2020 where the world and his wife loved houseplants?
I just think it's absolutely amazing.
Insane.
All I can remember from being about 8, I suppose, is spider plants all over the house and thinking that spider plants were the only house plants you could possibly have because they're the only ones I'd ever seen. But it was
so limited then, wasn't it?
I love houseplants, and I just love seeing everybody online loving houseplants and just watching people get their first houseplant and just nurturing it and thinking this is the best thing ever. I mean, it's just, that is awesome. And that has to stay, that has to carry on.
But sometimes I cringe because they're giving them a bit too much care sometimes, aren't they?
Well, Yeah.
And I'm just like, that house, but you don't need to water it every day or every time you walk past it. It'll be fine.
I do remember when I left my husband in North Carolina with our houseplants there. And I was like, right, I've got a schedule written down of when you need to bath the houseplants. So because it's so hot and dry there, we put them all in the bath once about every 7 to 10 days throughout the summer. Bear in mind how hot it is there. And he was like, oh, God, this is going to be such a pain. I was like, what are you talking about? You've only got to put them in the bath. And he was like, yeah, but every day, lifting them out and putting them in the bath. And I was like, every day? You don't water them every day. Oh, my God, if you watered them every day, they would die. And he said, oh, that's all right. Then I don't mind. It was only every 7 to 10 days.
I think growing houseplants, like, it's easy when you know, but it just... I don't know, it gets to be quite intuitive and they don't need as much as you think they do.
Yeah.
And
you start to
also,
learn them, don't you?
when they're drying out, you can tell as well. I know they shouldn't get to that stage, but it's, But
that's a good way to learn when you see like the leaves drop. But
definitely.
So I'm sitting here on your sofa and behind me is this beautiful begonia. And
begonia.
I was FaceTiming my husband the other day and he actually said, oh, that plant behind you is like our one here. So he'd actually recognised that plant was a similar. It's not the same, but it was a similar begonia to the one in.
I love this one. I wouldn't mind if you stole a leaf. Actually, it's called Montgomery something. Okay. It's really cool.
Beautiful.
Really cool.
I love like the kind of spiky shaped leaves. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But that's ace. So you might find I've nicked some cuttings when you get back.
I ordered some. How's my begonia 6 station in the kitchen?
I'd have to get up and have a look, but they're all fine. Is all I can say.
Okay, they're all fine.
That was the one with the whitefly. It's
yeah.
not looking very well.
That was the Gynura.
Oh, hang on.
Is that all right? How's that?
It's not looking very well.
Yeah. But you know what? Like when a houseplant, like I shouldn't say this, but when a houseplant kind of goes wrong I haven't got much patience for it. I'm just like, okay, next.
Move along. Next in line.
Because I bought these, just to talk about mail order plants for a little bit, I bought some begonias like in plug size from, I think Sutton's during lockdown. And they've been quite hard to grow on from the plug. So I kind of I wished I'd gone a bit bigger with that.
Right.
But a lot of people do find, there are different benefits with mail order because obviously buying smaller, if you've got the experience and you're happy to grow them on, then you can save a lot of money by buying smaller. And I have to say, kind of thinking about it now, I think I know where I went wrong. I didn't pot them on as soon as I got them. I just kind of had them sitting in a little bowl of water for a few days, which is kind of not that great because kind of like the roots are sort of weirdly exposed and they're kind of just sitting there and not really in a medium of soil, which they want to be in. So I admit to that failure, so I'm not blaming the plants on that one. But with mail order, I don't know if people realise you've actually got access to a wider range of plants than you could ever get in the garden centres because the garden centres they have a sort of A to Z with herbaceous and shrubs, but most of what they sell is the kind of impulse purchases on the bench. So if there's something that you really want, you're kind of more likely to find it on the internet than randomly in a garden centre. And very often, a lot of the things that are selected for the garden centre have to be very commercially viable. So they need to be things they can grow in very big numbers. They need to flower in a certain week. A lot of those bedding plants, you probably know, Eleanor, are treated with Psychocell, which is a chemical that keeps them dwarf and small. Yeah. So when you actually plant them into the garden, they suddenly double the size once this chemical wears off. So it's very misleading. So by buying mail order, you can actually get original types of bedding plants that are untreated with this silly dwarfing agent, and actually varieties that are in shorter numbers, varieties that are not commercially viable. Perhaps they don't make attractive looking plants when they're young. A great example would be rosebud trailing geraniums. You never see those in the garden centre because a trailing geranium it's quite a messy looking plant, isn't it?
Yeah,
so you kind of buy it mail order, get it established in a basket, get these lovely rosebud blooms, but it would never look good enough to sell in a garden centre at the young stage. So it's a whole new world once you get into mail order.
But
and it complements retail perfectly.
We do all love an impulse buy as well, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I was in a Dutch garden centre last week, and it's really cool to see the very different things that are there as well. Because I remember coming here when I was first 18, and houseplants were obviously always popular here. And I remember the kind of innovation that we see now, I was seeing here 18 years ago. All of these glorious like foliage plants, the little pileas, kind of, and now I'm kind of, like I see where that all came from. But it took a bloody long time, didn't it?
We got there in the end. You know, I have to just ask the question about compost, because all I kept seeing from in the UK during lockdown was the compost shortages. People couldn't get hold of compost.
It was like gardener's toilet roll.
Yeah, I was like sending my mum all these plug plants, and she was completely freaking out because she had no compost. So I was trying to order compost to get delivered to her as well. And I think we've had this conversation between ourselves. I'm not sure if we've done it on the podcast or not before. But can we just use garden soil? What was the outcome?
Yeah, but the thing is, when you plant your plants in the border, you plant them into garden soil. So why not into a container? But
I guess it's just different nutrients.
Yeah, in a container, it's a smaller space. Your plants are going to struggle for nutrients a lot. So I would say you could use garden soil, but you've got to improve it in some way. So if you have got, a half and half mix of soil and compost, that might work.
Yeah.
But you do struggle in containers to hold on to nutrients and moisture as well. So, it's a difficult one because everyone, there was a real shortage, and suddenly it's like you haven't got the flour for making bread, you haven't got the compost for potting up your baskets.
And you haven't got the roll for wiping your bum.
Oh, no, God. But it's all a bit very strange situation.
Very weird times. And then, and of course, the other thing that we should just touch on are window boxes as well, because during lockdown, I've seen some amazing window boxes. I've seen some absolutely beautiful...
Well, as you know, Ellen, I want my retirement fund to be based around designing an all-fits everywhere window box.
Right, okay.
Because I just think that people don't use window boxes enough. It's so easy. Like, even if you've got an apartment or you haven't got a garden or you don't want to tackle the garden, you've got your garden straight outside your window. It's just so easy. So, I'd love to see a bit of a revival of window boxes. Maybe I need to write a book about it.
Yeah, write a book about window boxes.
It's just they always need a drill, and you need an adult to use a drill, so that's kind of inhibiting
I wouldn't like to give you a drill. I don't know what would happen. I don't know where the holes would appear.
Well, window boxes are the future, I would say.
Very good.
Definitely.
Very good. Well, there you go. So that's...
Maybe there should be a service where people come, a man comes, or a woman, and sets up a window box for you. Yes. Oh, my God, that's a really good idea.
I'm sure that there probably is. Do you think?
I think that's just called a handyman. I think we need to rebrand it almost.
Handy window boxes. Handy box gardens. Handy window gardens.
Window box for you. With the 4 as a number.
It's just all already
it's
done.
Really trashy.
It's all already done for you, and it's just delivered.
Yeah.
But then, on the window ledges of like people's homes, they're always different sizes.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of have to make a bespoke one.
Yeah.
Don't you?
It's very tricky.
Anyway,
dear,
this is very good chatting with you, Michael.
You too.
And now...
But no, do you know what? It's been really nice to kind of just have a really honest chat about like the COVID situation and the lockdown and kind of how it affected horticulture and gardening, because I don't think I've really got that out of my system before now.
Do you feel like relieved? Like the weight's off your shoulders? I feel it was
terribly cathartic and I need a lie down. I'm already lying down.
I think you really already are lying down. Anyway, we've talked about COVID and we've talked about the future and we've turned COVID into Grovid. So there you go.
Exactly.
That's the episode today.
Like magic. Cool. Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you. See you
soon.
Bye.
These bay trees are a bit yellow.
Do you not like bay trees?
I don't know, I just think they've been a bit starved for a while.
For years?
They're not mine, they were here when I moved in. Don't panic.
You just want to clarify that?
Yeah.
So no one thinks that you're killing plants?
I think they just need a bit of feed or something, I don't know. Or, like, they're not exactly in much compost, are they?
Just some new compost.
They've got good shape, they're just...
like seaweed feed.
Yellow rather than green, yeah. Oh. Anyway, Welcome to my garden, Ellen.
Yeah, thanks. It's actually really sunny. It's lovely
It's
and relaxing.
an amazing aspect. It's kind of so irritating how sunny it is here.
Because how can you get on and do any work when you can just sit here in the sun?
And do you like my ice cream table and chairs?
I love your table and chairs.
I call it ice cream table and chairs because it's exactly what you'd have if you went to an ice cream parlour, isn't it?
It is a bit. It reminds me of going to like campsites in France.
Yeah. But I wanted that kind of like continental vibe, you know?
It's really cute. And then obviously like with the roses there as well, it's really pretty.
Yeah,
I did have a
definitely.
little tangle with your sun lounger.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I just couldn't understand how to get it to come up.
I think we're realising we're both actually quite impractical because I then had a tangle with this like clothes rail that I was putting together, which I stress is going to be a plant stand rather than a clothes rail.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hey, have you seen my fountain?
Oh, right. Okay, so I saw you post your
It's
fountain.
cute, huh? It stopped working after 2 days, but we're not going to mention that on the podcast.
So I did comment on it, didn't I?
What, that it would stop?
Yeah.
You're right. Maybe I don't understand the timer. Who knows?
I had one as well.
The disco one.
The disco one, and it was so cool because all the different lights. So when, like as the water was coming out, all the different lights flashed.
Where is it now?
So it was completely ridiculous, but also completely amazing. Anyway, it lasted approximately 3 weeks,
What's the problem with that? I don't know.
and then that was it. No more.
Oh, God, it's too hot here. Look at my petunia, though.
That petunia is actually to die for.
I know. Midnight Gold. Brand new from Florensis in Holland.
I think
Really
we've
nice.
mentioned it before on the podcast.
Have we?
We
They haven't even paid us for that. To send them an invoice.
That's 2 mentions.
Really?
We need to invoice.
Yeah.
It's an absolute beauty.
Definitely.
The one in the big pot at the front when you come in
Yeah.
is absolutely
I know.
stunning.
I don't know if my neighbours realise how many new and exclusive varieties of plant are being grown in their
They
close.
probably have no idea. They'll
It
be
is
keeping
weird
up with
when
the
you don't.
Joneses.
But isn't it weird when your neighbours don't know what you do? And like maybe one day they'll turn the TV on and then they'll realise it's
They'll
like,
turn on
"What?"
QVC and there you are. He lives next door to me. No
but
wonder
also-
why he has all those plants.
Talking recently to this morning about doing some pieces, and they quite like the space here. It's like imagine doing it here and then someone's then watching. And it's like,
What's going on over
next door?
there? Tell us about your other plants you've got out here.
well, this look at these old stone pots. They're quite nice actually.
Yeah, I don't like them.
Do you not? No, nor do I actually. Well, they just don't fit with my vibe, even though I sort of. They're kind of kitsch. I wonder what they'd look like with some really simple, like grasses, like Carex, Hakena cloa.
That would make
I
them
don't
look
know,
almost a
yeah.
bit Japanesey, actually.
Yeah, because what I've done, I mean, you know, when I first moved in, I just quickly put some stuff in. And also, I had this problem because I've got loads of plants just in pots that have been sitting around or I bought or people have given to me. And I'm still waiting to plant them up. And this was basically a plant up of a lot of the stuff I had on the windowsill in Windsor.
It's like a mashup.
Yeah, it really
I mean,
is.
actually, I love the planting, but I wouldn't necessarily pick the pots. But, you know, even pots are personal, aren't they? Like plants. Like, you pick the plants you like, you pick your pots.
But
and
it's
your
weird,
style.
yeah,
It's
I'm
like your
looking at
home.
them now. I'm wondering if they might even work nicer with one of these mangava in, actually.
And I've watered your hydrangea for you.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
That's a pleasure.
I need to plant that up. There's a new heuchera down there called Frilly.
I saw you post
Yeah.
it and I love it. I really like it. It's like little and it's like it is frilly. Like
yeah,
the leaves
it's
are
really
frilly.
cool. First of its kind.
Oh, are you excited to have a garden of your own?
Yeah, it makes it a lot more flexible, for sure. Sorry, I've had some Pellegrino.
gonna
I've got a bit of reverb.
Burp on the podcast.
Hey, do you know what that big leaf is?
What am I looking at? This one?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Tree tomato.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, Tamarillo. Well, I've tried it before at Thompson Morgan. You can't grow it big enough to fruit necessarily, but
Why
it
not?
is because it needs winter protection. So it then becomes a massive tree that you then got to bring in the winter, take it back out.
So when you say tree, how big?
Oh, like 10,
Oh, like
24.
proper
It's
big
really,
tree.
yeah. And it's like, you know, Tamarillo, which is obviously not a real tomato, but it's, unusual. It's from New Zealand. But I think it would be really nice as a kind of just a leafy kind of house plant. So I'm almost testing it on my patio outside.
Very nice. What are you going to do with the garden? Anything? Have you got plans?
I don't know. I need to get some privacy there. Because, I mean, I don't mind. I don't know if they're moving around naked, but I definitely do.
They definitely don't want to be seeing that, do
I
they?
hadn't even thought how far you can see it.
Can you imagine if they were up
You
there
probably can't even see that
and they
far
just
in.
like looked out the window and you're just hanging out naked in the kitchen?
Well, it's your house, my house. You know what I
Although,
mean?
to
It's
be
like,
honest, the house that's looking over you has like the frosted glass, so that's obviously their bathroom. So it's not like they're really going to be looking
definitely.
out.
But I do, for kind of the, I don't know, coziness, need some sort of trees or something there. Or,
Yeah, for a bit of privacy.
And this, people keep looking on the pictures and asking why I haven't cut my grass, but to be honest, I think it looks quite nice.
I think it looks
looks
funky.
quite wild
and also it's
sexy.
so good for insects.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not like, don't care about
You shouldn't
cutting the grass.
have to be in a rush to
And
cut
I actually love how he's kind of nestling the sun lounger.
It's actually really nice. And someone who I know hadn't cut his lawn.
Yeah.
So one year he forgot to cut it, like went away, hadn't cut it, came back, had bee orchids. Literally out of nowhere.
cool.
And then so the next year he refused to mow the lawn because he had tons of bee orchids. So you never even know what will appear.
Wow, I wonder if I could get away with never cutting it and just
Why- but
having
why don't you
a
just-
path through it.
You could just, have like a path.
cut path,
Or just
yeah.
like a little space where it's mowed and then leave all the edges like that, where it's unmowed.
that's quite
And you
cool.
can probably like have some little wildflowers that will appear, and it's great for like pollinators and stuff.
That's interesting.
There's a labyrinth at the Bishop's House Garden in Norwich,
Oh yeah, I've been there. Where is it?
in Tombland.
Yeah, I've been there, but where's this?
It's in the
labyrinth thing?
garden,
Oh, you didn't take me there.
didn't I?
No.
I really apologise for that. How long ago was this though?
No, 4 years ago.
Well, maybe it wasn't there then.
When I roped you in to do that dodgy shoot for that clotheswear company.
That was like 2016 or something.
Was it?
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't there then, I don't know.
I don't know.
But they
yeah.
have one, but basically the labyrinth is from...
Sorry, that was such a waste of minutes. It's like when your parents are like, was it last Tuesday or was it Wednesday? I'm not sure. Was it
My mum
Tuesday?
done
It was
that.
Tuesday.
Going completely off tack. She did that to me the other day. I was like, I'm going to be around your house at this time, and this just happened, and I just had to leave her, and she gave me the Spanish Inquisition. Where are you going? Why are you going there? What time are you going there? When I was like, that is not the point of my call. I'm telling you, I'm coming back now.
God.
Anyway, the labyrinth is unmown lawn, and then the actual pathway that you kind of walk around is just the width of a lawnmower. It's really cool because it gets really high.
I need a labyrinth or a maze.
A maze,
Cut into the lawn.
Yeah,
that could be cool.
yeah.
Ooh.
See what pops up.
But yeah, it is not. Is there a joke there? I thought there was a pun.
No, there was no pun.
Oh, right.
I don't do the puns on the podcast. It's you.
Look at my solar light.
Look at your
It's cool.
cellulite.
Solar light. You're going to enjoy that tonight, Ellen Mary?
Does it go off ever?
Yeah, every day
Okay.
at the moment. Look at the kale. That's yours.
Have you been harvesting it?
Not yet.
No, I was going to
actually.
say it doesn't look
I
like
was a
it.
bit nervous because
Why?
I felt like it wasn't stiff enough.
Have you been watering it?
Yeah. But I just felt like
No, it's
the leaves
fine.
were too young. But then
No,
I don't know
that's
why I
fine.
thought that because you can buy young kale as well.
So usually, you harvest it bottom up.
Yeah.
But the young leaves are perfectly
yeah,
fine. And you
even
can,
in salads, just themselves.
Yeah, just chuck them in a
I don't know why
smoothie
I
or your dinner or whatever.
procrastinated
The
about it.
best way to have kale is even if the young leaves, or it doesn't matter, just chop it up and put some oil, pepper, maybe some paprika, whatever you like,
Yeah.
and put it in the oven and make kale chips.
Oh yeah,
my
I do
God,
that all
they're
the
the
time.
best.
Yeah, definitely. Ellen Mary, I've been making kale chips for years.
I was simply asking since you haven't actually harvested any of the kale that
Although I
gave
remember when
you.
I was a kid, like my grandparents sometimes had kale instead of cabbage. And the way they would have cooked it then was just like, it was so bitter. It was just horrible. It was like, what are you doing?
And then you've got your veggie bag as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool.
And
We
I've
were
got a
having a discussion
spider.
about the pollinating though, weren't we?
Oh, look, I've got a money spider. Hang on.
will you
it has
focus?
to go around my head 3 times. Yeah? 1, 2. What do you do after the 3rd time?
it in the
3.
bin.
What? Okay, I'm going to put it on
That's
one of
a
your
money
plants.
spider.
Well, the little mini spiders are money spiders, and they're meant to bring you good luck if you spin them around your head, yeah?
Yeah, but break that down.
What to what?
Like, it's just a spider.
It's just a silly little bit of fun. Don't take the mickey out of me.
This veggie bag, yeah.
Yeah, so we were discussing about pollination.
Yeah, and I looked up, and a lot of varieties are self-pollinating. So does that mean... I should know more about this, but
So
I
basically,
don't.
but that's the same as with any kind of contained plant that's growing. like in a veggie pod or veggie bag or anything, like the veggie truck, they have colours and everything. So I've never had a problem of anything pollinating, come to think of it. But it depends on the variety, because some varieties are self-pollinating and others aren't.
Because the actual bloom would be able to pollinate itself. It doesn't need any insect.
Some, but not all.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I obviously cheated. I planted stuff that was already in flower, but the courgette will be interesting because that isn't in flower.
But you can hand-pollinate it.
Yeah, but that's a faff. You want it to be easier to...
Well, you kind of... It's nice to leave it to nature, really, isn't it, to be honest? But I've hand-pollinated quite a lot of plants over the year, and it can really help. It can improve it.
Yeah, okay. Interesting experiment.
Yeah, just see what happens.
Yeah.
But you've got some chilies on that plant anyway. Oh, you've got a dog next door too, I hear.
I know.
Hi, doggy.
But isn't it remarkably quiet around here?
Yeah.
Through the middle of town.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing.
There's like lots of houses around, but apart from the dog,
it's weird.
There's really no noise.
I don't know if everyone's dead or what.
You're in Ipswich.
I don't know.
Are everyone zombies in Ipswich?
Yeah.
I'm scared to spend the week in Ipswich.
But you brought all your luggage. You even brought your muck boots, didn't you?
I brought my muck boots, yeah. I'm actually going to put my muck boots on in a minute and get like down and dirty in your garden.
Well, before I go, I want to get all those things planted up down the bottom, actually. I don't know if I'll plant them into the border. I haven't actually got a spade.
Did you bring me here to do gardening?
No. I just want you to supervise me and film me. But that'll be the first time I should wear my muck boots, because last time, remember when we did the veggie bag video?
Yeah.
Everyone commented that I was just casually doing it in my slippers. I think I've got to step my game up this next time.
Did you have your sliders on?
I don't know if it's sliders or slippers, but either way, it wasn't a good gardening shoe. And that's why it's a good thing that the muck boots arrived.
Yeah, I love them, I've got to say. Mine are bright yellow. What are yours?
Oh, I don't know.
Mine are bright
I haven't opened
yellow.
it yet because I had so many things to unpack when I moved in. I haven't actually opened that box yet.
I do love the fact
anticipation.
that outside your gate, you've literally got a pile of boxes from all the stuff you've
My
bought.
mum's so worried about it. She's like, you need to get that to the dump. It's like, why? It'll just go in the bin sometime, you know. It's got to just throw the rubbish over. Like, no one sees it apart from me.
Yeah.
Because this is my garden, this is my driveway.
Yeah.
You know? So who's it harm? And if anything, the rain is just softening it.
That's going to make it harder to move it, though.
Is it?
Surely.
No, it's not going to melt, is it? But it's going to soften it so you can then, easily fit it into the bins and stuff.
Okay.
It has got a bit of an out-of-control rubbish pile there. There's a dead suitcase on there as well. The wheel fell off the other day.
Oh. I just find it really uncomfortable that you're so domesticated now. I'm just not used to it. Like,
Helen, look out there. That doesn't look like domestication, does it? I'm about to throw something new out there as well.
Inside,
it missed. Damn it.
Inside, you were all domesticated, apart from accidentally purchasing 2 cheese graters.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened, to be honest. I think we should use the other one as a giveaway.
On the podcast, plant-based podcast cheese grater.
Oh my god.
Very good. Anyway, shall we get our muck boots on and get planting?
Defo. Sorry.
What was that all about?
This episode of the Plant-Based Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Natural Grower. Launched in 2019, their award-winning liquid fertiliser and soil conditioner is made entirely from maize. Naturally rich in nitrogen, potash, phosphate and other trace elements that plants and vegetables love. It is approved by the Soil Association, Vegan Society and Organic Farmers and Growers. Visit naturalgrower.co.uk to nurture your soil and boost your plants and veg. Enter PBP15 for a 15% discount as a PBP subscriber.
Thanks for listening. You should now be at least 25% more obsessed by plants.
Please follow us on social media. You'll find us by typing in the Plant-Based Podcast.
We also have a fabulous website. Go to theplantbasedpodcast.net.
So tell your friends, leave a review. Why not write a letter to your local MP? Please spread the word about the Plant-Based Podcast.
Oh yes, see you next time, plant friends. The theme music for the Plant-Based Podcast is an excerpt from the song Grow by Mikey James. and our editing is done by Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.